Hello, my fellow travelers. Welcome back to the tour. I am your tour guide through this field of consciousness that we're navigating together as a collective and simultaneously as individuals, and then rippling out through the entire planet, which you could think the planetary consciousness which we are embedded within. This planetary consciousness is just like ours, but we experience it as much larger physically. But the earth is a conscious being just as much as each one of us is. So just feeling that love that we have the potential to emanate from our heart, rippling out through the universe to where it reaches the edges of the universe. And because we are made of light, and this is scientifically known, that the light from our bodies reaches those outer edges of the universe. That's a scientifically known fact. That's proven that it goes all the way. So we really inhabit the entire reality of this. It's just that we pretend to be these separate human beings or animals or plant with the illusion of separation. But even just with the science that we learn in anyone that went to, elementary school or grade school in the US or many other countries, we learn about molecules and atoms. And so even on that level of thinking, the air around me, the molecules and atoms are really directly connecting to the elements and molecules in my hand, the atoms in my hand. If we want to look on an atomic level, the atoms in my hand and the atoms in the air, it's just all swirling protons and neutrons and electrons. So even from that perspective, it really does line up with this sense that everything is, in one sense, just swirling beautiful energy or charge. But then on the deeper level, everything is love. Really, it's all love. It's all pure joy, bliss, oneness, harmony, peace. But it's infinite, and when everything's great all the time, it gets a little boring. So we write these stories, and we allow evil to exist because, well, we don't allow it to exist. It's part of the human experience to want to fight against evil, but in the grander sense, you can't have extreme good without extreme evil. You can't have hot without cold. Everything that exists, its polar opposite must exist as well. And this is one of the ways that we create this illusion of separation, where we feel we gotta fight for what's good and what's right because we get to enjoy the joy that comes from that pursuit of good. But if evil didn't exist, there would be nothing to pursue. So we can have gratitude for something like evil, simultaneously wanting to continuously stomp it out. You can have both. You can truly love what may appear to be your greatest enemy, because actually love is the most powerful weapon. And we can see that through things like scalar technology, where Nikola Tesla invented the death ray, thinking it would end all wars. Well, that's a very powerful scalar weapon. Lately, I've been talking about the scalar energy devices that I've been utilizing for about 4 years now from Canrola, and how they've helped me to feel peace and be able to sleep better, and the plant growth is incredible, and it's this life force energy. But as he has said, I heard him say recently, anything that can be used for good can also be used for harm. It's again that coin of every coin has a front and a back. So just having gratitude for all that is, knowing that on the deepest level everything is perfect, but we get bored with perfection. We really do, because at that level it's just one pure consciousness of the I am. So with that being said, just wanted to share this geode, and it may be a little hard to see, but it's this gorgeous lavender beautiful geode. I got it in Colorado from a crystal shop, where you choose the geodes that you want that tell you what the common colors found in different types are, and then you choose your geodes, and they have a machine where they open it right there in front of you, So it's quite a magical experience. This one is actually calling to go to my friend's healing center up in Palm Harbor, Alasa, who many of you know. And it's wonderful to share crystals with others. And the crystals have their own consciousness, so they have a memory, I believe, I feel, of everyone that's loved them and interacted with them. So again, just everything around us, if we view it all as being conscious, the chair, the food, the road, the cars, it's this, kind of acknowledgement that if that's the fundamental building block, then the chair has a certain amount of consciousness within it, even if it's just so minute that we can't, it's a challenge for us to fathom it with our human minds. But it is organic. It came from a tree. That tree lived for many years probably and was witnessing many events around us. And many people say that the trees hold memories, and that it's a grid, actually, an informational grid around the planet. And the aspen tree, for example, is considered by scientists to be the world's largest living organism because the groves of tree act so much like a single being. So, moving on, I'm pretty sure I've mentioned in at least one of the videos about a man named David Adair. It's Adair. I highly, highly recommend checking out any of the videos he's done. You can look on YouTube, but I haven't done any YouTube searches. I've been checking on Rumble because of certain people that I follow, like Michael Sala from Exopolitics and Carrie Cassidy from Project Camelot. I know they have interviews there, so I will include some links in the show notes for you all to enjoy, because as I said in another video, he is absolutely one of the most incredible storytellers you will ever encounter in your life. And he worked for NASA. He was recruited at age 17 to lead his team of scientists at NASA to build a rocket. And the story of what happened with that rocket, I'll leave for you. I'll avoid any spoilers because it just shows the character of who he is. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. So I'm bringing him up because in one of his, actually numerous interviews, he shared a technology that he developed with NASA. And he mentions about 4 times of 4 incredible inventions that he and his teams found, and they were told all 4 times, and I'm sure many others, to shut it down and stop what you're doing. And the scientists are saying, "What are you talking about? This is an incredible discovery that's going to help all of humanity." He said, "No, shut it down." And then he said that the reason they would give is that you are over commercializing space, because they would take these discoveries, and there's even an institution that Kennedy founded that he set up to do this work in particular, but David Adair says they're treated like the unwanted stepchild, so that's the phrase he used. But Kennedy set it up to take the discoveries made by organizations like NASA and get them to the people. So that's what I wanted to read, this article you can find online from it's a PDF from McDonnell Douglas. I should be able to look this up again and link it as well. I have it as a download on my iPad, but I got it from just a link online. So I'm just going to read, this is just one page from the multi-page PDF. And this David Adair was very involved. In fact, I from what I remember, he was the one who discovered electrophoresis. Or at least was a key person on a team. Maybe it was a team, but for sure he was at least on the team. Go check out the videos and you can all let me know in the comments. So, thanks to the McDonnell Douglas EOS program, Electrophoresis Operations in Space, new and better treatments for illnesses such as diabetes and hemophilia may be available during the next decade. Because these illnesses and many others are caused by a lack of natural body substances, effective treatments depend on the ability to provide patients with the substances they require. These substances can be obtained by separating them from the biological mixtures in which they are produced. Until now, however, it has not been possible to separate enough pure substances to develop the necessary medicines. The EOS program has changed all that. Over the past 7 years, McDonnell Douglas has developed a device that can separate cells, hormones, enzymes, and other proteins in the abundant quantities and in the exceptional purities needed by researchers and pharmaceutical companies. Based on a process called continuous flow electrophoresis, the EOS device has been working on Earth and in space to separate the materials that could lead to important breakthroughs in the world of medicine. The EOS ground unit, located in McDonnell Douglas Laboratories in St. Louis, Missouri, offers an improved system for separating materials on Earth. The system can be used for basic research and development, as well as separating biological materials for small commercial markets. The EOS space unit carried in the space shuttle offers an incomparable method for separating extremely large quantities of highly purified materials. In the 4 shuttle flights on which the EOS space unit has flown, all mission objectives have been met. Freed of Earth's gravity, the unit separated over 700 times more material and achieved purity levels 4 times higher than those possible in similar operations on the ground. Backed by this success, McDonnell Douglas plans to begin flying a much larger unit on the shuttle in 1985, one that can continuously separate large commercial quantities of material. By the early 1990s, we hope to have a number of full-scale production factories orbiting the Earth on manned or unmanned vehicles. So, 1985, 3 years after I was born. I'm 42. So, this is 39 years ago now that we have the capability. We've had this for 39 years, we'll put it that way. This capability. And David Adair himself has diabetes. And in one of the recent videos I was watching, he was sitting there saying, we have the cure, I found the cure, and, there he is getting two insulin shots a day, and he was sort of lamenting the fact of how sort of silly that is. And, I get frustrated, but people like him have been dealing with this for decades. So basically what he said in one of the interviews, that based on this utilizing this technique, they found a way to create a crystal that could be injected into a person's body, and if they had diabetes, it would be permanently cured with one single injection. And that is an incredibly valuable type of discovery for humanity, but up until now, there have been certain people, for some strange reasons, for maybe quite confusing to me, but who've wanted to stop this sort of thing. So I invite you with me in this moment to take what we see that we don't like, and then we flip it upside down. We take the inversion, and that's what we focus on. Because I heard something useful yesterday while I've been going through sort of some emotional ups and downs, and it was a therapist who had written a book, and Joe Rogan was interviewing her, and she said, when we continuously ruminate on our problems, we amplify them. So I feel the healthier approach is to feel it, look at it, let go of the fear of what it is that, someone else said recently, everything good is on the other side of fear. So if something comes up that's uncomfortable, we look at it and we say, okay, what is the inverse of this? And I've got all this mulch in front of my house, or in front of this 7 Heaven sanctuary house here. And I could sit around and say, gosh, look at all that mulch, and I don't have the energy to move it right now. Instead, I could just envision all the mulch being spread on the property. And like I've said many times about the many worlds interpretation, that it's just focusing clearly on the objective we're trying to achieve. I want to be really healthy for a really long time. I want to reverse my age. I want to get younger over time instead of older. And maybe get to where I'm in my mid-20s genetically. By testing my telomeres, I can prove I'm genetically the age of 27. and then just maintain an incredible level of health for the rest of my life. By clearly focusing on that objective and believing that I can, which I know that I can because I've already been doing it for a few years now, and I am healthier than I was in my 20s, I know that for sure. So continuously focusing on our objective and believing that we can do it, and believing that it can become real, can let go of the mind's need to, well, what about this? What about, this is that material sort of thinking of, we need to be proven in our head that it's possible when we see it in our heart, we see it in our mind's eye, what we're trying to achieve, believe in our heart it's true, and then we just let go and allow it to unfold. So electrophoresis, check it out. Back to what I was saying though, about this, if we want to just take a moment, if you are interested in joining me, let's envision any barriers for this technology completely dissolved, and that it's imminent, and we're about to hear about it tomorrow. That this news that I'm telling you right now is about to be released on a massive public scale, and actions be taken immediately to get everyone excited that in a couple months from now we'll have a cure for diabetes. So the more of us that engage in that type of positive thinking, we mold the reality around us. We become the dominant effect of the consciousness field, which is a field of charge. Charge collapse, as Dan Winter so eloquently describes in so many different ways. We then become the builders of this new reality. As Alasa has been talking about quite a bit lately, and I really resonate with that. If you're listening to this, there's a good chance that you are someone who is part of constructing the new earth reality. So we simply step into it. By working to build it, we're the first ones that get to enjoy it. So I encourage you to see this technology and all other technologies similar to it that have the potential to help humanity advance rapidly. Help us jump. The name I use, the reason I'm calling this project Jump Gate, which is really becoming the dominant, focus of my life, and this video is being part of that, is because this house is meant to be a portal where we can step into heaven on earth. And my goal is that anyone coming through here, and if I can make this truly sanctuary, truly seventh dimensional heaven level, and not just me, but many other people with me, because I clearly didn't do all of this on my own. There's already been many people who built the house, who, the original house was from the 50s, so this is, 70 years plus that people have been putting loving intention into this space. So, yay for amazing, incredible new life-changing technologies being released in this very moment. And we just see it in our mind's eye, we feel the joy. Oh my gosh, that's amazing! Some of you out there might know people with diabetes. Wow, to think that the cure is here and it's just a matter of time before your friend or your loved one gets it. And to know that it's beyond just hope, it's trusting and believing. And someone like David Adair, who has such credentials to back up who he is and what he's saying, it'd be hard to find someone, he served in the military, it'd be hard to find someone who was more qualified to say what he's saying. So, I'll put the links up, and I highly, it's a wild ride hearing what he's been through. It's truly just the most amazing storyteller hour. It's not something kind of complex, he's very easy to understand. He's one of the most positive, joyful people you will ever. He's just such a likable person, and just the story he wrote for himself. And I know I said this in a previous video, I guess I'm just really enamored with him right now, as I do get from time to time. I forgot to mention what's over my head. So it's a tetrahedron that I built, and so I am feeling the effects. So it's wrapped with copper, it's made from bamboo, and when I put it over my head, I can distinctly feel the difference. So I had the idea to put it above my head for this session and sit on the floor, and so far I think it's working. So I had done an instructional video that I recently took down because I wasn't happy with the quality of it. It was a different tetrahedron. But I would, now that I'm reconnecting with this work of art, you could say, it's very similar to what people are doing, or it seems quite in line with what people are doing with electroculture, using copper to help facilitate growth of plants and help pull that earth energy up out to where it can sort of come through the shell of earth, just like the geode, and help facilitate that energy to move up out through the crust. So next I wanted to share, this is from the Tom Bearden website. He's no longer with us, but if you check out any of the videos online with him, he's another incredible individual. I hope to have more women. I realize I've been mostly talking about men when I talk about scientists and physicists. I know there's incredible genius women out there. If anyone knows, please share in the notes. I was just looking at a woman, her name, let's see if I can remember it, Lene Howe, Lenehau, and she in the late 90s discovered how to slow down light. And then a few short years after, around 2001, I believe, she found out how to slow it down even more. And they're able to slow down light to, and this might have even slowed down even more, but at the time, from what I read from her research, they got it down to something like 38 miles per hour. Gosh, it might have even been slower than that. I know that was one of the milestones that they achieved, using really, really cold temperatures and lasers that focus together, which would be the point of implosion, just like I've talked about a lot, referencing Dan Winter's work and many other scientists who know the power of implosion. But when just briefly listening to her research, it's like, yeah, this sounds a lot like, creating a vortex, and the light is going through the vortex and reaching that point of implosion, and coolness is one of the things that results from implosion, or perhaps, results from, helps facilitate, maybe they're kind of one and the same. Anyway, so on to Tom Bearden. But yeah, please let me know if you want to recommend some amazing female physicists or female scientists who've made great contributions, so I can honor them as well, especially being a woman, and especially trying to share this information for you all, so whether you're a man or a woman, you realize that any amount that we try to, I just find these little tidbits to enrich and enliven my life, like the one I shared recently about the speed of light and its relationship to Planck length and Planck time, and what a beautiful, cohesive, simple formula that is. It's well known, well discovered, but me finding it and putting it in my book, and then having put the book down and then rediscovering it, and then it was like it took me time for the profundity, if that's the word, profoundness. It took time for me to realize how profound that knowledge is, showing a direct relationship between light, length, and time. And so anyway, I don't have to, but perhaps would be fun to do a video on that formula where I can calculate it for you in real time and show you directly, because there's something about doing the calculation yourself, or at least watching someone else do it and maybe then doing it yourself if you want. I do recommend that action to really solidify that knowledge. But yeah, so hopefully that'll be, I'm feeling that's going to be a near future video. Okay, so Tom Bearden, I wanted to read this. I printed out about 7 pages. I have no clue how far I'll be able to get. I just follow what feels in alignment. But this is from his website that I will also link in the show notes. So I'm just going to go for it, and I really hope you enjoy. The Final Secret of Free Energy, 1993. T.E. Bearden, A.D.A.S., and then it has his address in Huntsville, Alabama. February 9th, 1993. Slightly revised March 23rd, 1993. Okay, forward. This paper contains the real secret of tapping the vacuum energy very simply, using almost any source of potential, battery, electrostatic generator, a la Swiss electrostatic device, the Testatica, elevated wire with 250 volts per meter, I believe that is V/M, in the Earth/ionosphere potential, etc. The objective is for the moderately technical reader to understand how to build and understand not only a single device, but also hundreds of different kinds of them. While it is quite simple, the magic principle contained in this paper only took me some 30 years to discover. The precise definitions necessary to understand the free energy rationale are included. Also included are some very simple pseudo-equations for the process. Do not underestimate these simple pseudo-equations. They tell the tale that's needed. Also, there has been little or no time to dress up the paper. It's simply written down very informally to get the necessary points across. Nearly everything fundamental that we've been taught about EM energy is wrong or incomplete. I just want to go back to EM energy. What is he meaning by that? Did he define that? EM energy. Doesn't look like he defined it, so have to come back to that. Electromagnetic, most likely. Okay. Nearly everything fundamental that we've been taught about EM energy is wrong or incomplete. Wow, that's a profound statement. And again, this is someone whose credentials truly back up. Another man who served in the military, who's highly, highly credentialed. Even the definition of energy in physics is wrong. Let me summarize a few of the things that are wrong with the classical electromagnetics CEM model as follows. CEM is still utilizing a model based on a material ether. Although the Michelson-Morley experiment destroyed the material ether assumption in 1887, the classical EM model has never been corrected. It also contains no definition of charge and no definition of potential. In many cases, algorithms to calculate a magnitude are bold-facedly and erroneously advanced as definitions. CEM still prescribes the force fields as the causes of all EM phenomena. It has been known since 1959 that forces are effects and not causes. Forces are effects and not causes. That feels quite profound. That EM force fields exist only in and on the charged particles of mass in the physical system, and that the potentials are the primary causes of EM phenomena. The lack of definitive definitions of mass and force in mechanics is carried over into EM theory. There is no adequate definition of EM force or of EM mass. The magnitude of the electrical charge on an electron is not quantized. Instead, it is discretized, being a function of the magnitude of the virtual photon flux, VPF, exchange between the vacuum and the charged particle. When the charged particle is placed in a potential that differs from ambient, then the magnitude of the VPF and hence the magnitude of the electric charge on the electron is altered. The CEM assumption of an empty vacuum is totally falsified by modern quantum mechanics. The CEM notion that EM force fields and force field waves exist in vacuum is totally false. Only potentials and potential gradients exist in the vacuum. EM waves in vacuum are not force field waves as CEM prescribes. Instead, they are oscillations of potentials and potential gradients. Potentials have a bidirectional EM wave pair structure, where the bidirectional wave pairs are phase locked in a harmonic series. In each wave pair, photons and antiphotons are continuously coupling into spin 2 gravitons and decoupling. This is where gravitation and electromagnetics are unified. The CEM notion that singular EM forces exist in either matter or the vacuum is false. Newton's third law requires that all forces exist in opposite pairs. Not a single one of the equations universally taught as Maxwell's equations ever appeared in any book or paper by James Clerk Maxwell. Instead, they are Oliver Heaviside's equations. Maxwell's actual theory, see, that I'm a little bit, that threw me off because I was under the impression that, right. Okay, yeah, I misread that. That's why I was reading from Maxwell's book the other day and would like to continue to do that. So Bearden brought a lot of awareness to the fact that the spin had been removed from Maxwell's equations. So I think it's pretty obvious why equations that are just working with fixed, static diagrams versus ones that are dynamic and move, it definitely seems obviously a little bit short-sighted, but that's apparently what's currently taught in physics is the Heaviside versions where the spin was removed from the equations. Maxwell's actual theory was written in quaternions, which is a complete system of mathematics. The Heaviside Gibbs vector version, 1 has a lower topology, 2 is not a complete system of mathematics, and 3 actually captured only a subset of Maxwell's actual theory. Tensor theory does not recapture that which was lost. There are even more errors in CEM, but these should suffice to make the point. Classical electromagnetics theory, which is what he keeps referring to, CEM, classical electromagnetics theory, is seriously flawed with archaic foundations, riddled with errors, and it should be completely redone. Until this revamping of CEM is accomplished, the present model solidly blocks free energy. The present physics model in our world that's taught at all the universities blocks free energy. Is that... Okay, I right now just want to put my attention to flipping that right side up to where we wake up tomorrow and all of a sudden all the, okay, like I'm being a little bit, hyperbolic, but if we can just see a near future moment or a parallel now moment, because all past and present, everything's happening now, let's just see that moment in our mind's eye. Let's just see all the universities teaching real physics that allows free energy to be understood and discovered and worked with and utilized and commercialized, also known as zero-point energy, right? So this is a trusted authority, okay? Well, he's trusted by many in this field, many of the people that are trying to bring the truth about our world to light. And like I said before, he's highly credentialed. So I'm just gonna read a little bit more. Okay, so until this revamping of CEM, so to see it as completely revamped, as if it's already been done. Until this revamping of CEM is accomplished, the present model solidly blocks free energy, anti-gravity, a unified physical theory, and a unified theory of mind and matter interaction. Okay, so by upgrading the model, the physics model, if I want to just take that statement and just invert it, by revamping classical electromagnetics theory, we will be able to better access free energy, anti-gravity, a unified physical field theory, and a unified theory of mind and matter interaction. A unified theory of mind and matter interaction. That's miracles, right? That's us being able to manipulate things like magic and finding ways to do that, using our consciousness as the power. And, maybe that involves coming up with some fun technology that we use our consciousness to develop to do the work, sure. But ultimately, it starts within. A second paper this year will detail the exact long-term causative mechanism for cancer and leukemia, and the exact mechanism for essentially 100% cure of terminal tumors in laboratory animals, demonstrated by the Priori team in France in the late 1960s and early 1970s. The same mechanism can be used to cure AIDS. Throughout the world, humankind is suffering. In the poor populations of the world, early death is the norm, as is frequent famine. Okay, this is really, okay, I'm gonna stop there. I just wanna invert that. I just want us all to see everyone on the planet having all the food they need, all the water, clean water they need, having healthy living environments, supportive families, everyone feeling loved and appreciated and accepted. I feel like there's just this balance of where I try to make sure any negative content is limited to like 10% and then 90% is positive, and that the 10% is utilized because I am playing the game of being here to fight evil. So the more we focus again on our problems, the worse they tend to get. When we take those issues, problems, look at them as an opportunity to improve and grow and learn, and we just invert it in our mind's eye. We say, okay, I know I don't like that. Okay, well, what's the inverted version? And then we just see that happening. So I hope that is helpful. There are a few other things I wanted to share. So I'm a big fan of a man named Tom Campbell, or Thomas Campbell, he goes by both. And he wrote a book called My Big Toe, TOE, which stands for Theory of Everything. And he's quite an incredible person. He's quite profound and seems very evolved in his consciousness. He was a PhD student at one of the, I'm pretty sure, Ivy League universities or colleges, I can't remember. He was a physics PhD, and he and another PhD physics student were recruited by Bob Monroe to do research on astral travel and remote viewing and psychic phenomena, because Bob Monroe at the time was a retired businessman who just started lucid dreaming and astral traveling, and he had a hard time convincing anyone that it was really happening. So Bob Monroe and Tom Campbell and this other PhD student, who I just don't know the name of at this moment, they did some absolutely incredible research to prove that psychic phenomena are real, that astral travel is real, lucid dreaming, and on and on and on. But I found a few snippets from him recently, just short little nuggets, and there was just some incredible wisdom embedded within. So one of the things he said was, we love freely. It's natural for us to just be loving unconditionally all the time. However, people have to earn our trust, and it's something, we don't have to like everyone. It's okay to not like things or like people, because fundamentally we're loving them unconditionally. We give that without needing anything back or expecting anything back. But there might be someone that, this just doesn't resonate with me. I don't really like that person. They just don't resonate, and I'm gonna shift to focus on who are the types of people that I want to be around, who do I want to be. If I'm bringing someone in my life and then at a certain point I say, gosh, I just don't really feel like talking to them anymore, I still can love them in my heart, and just saying it's like not my cup of tea. It's just like it'd be like a flavor of tea that you just don't really like, and that's okay. And it was almost like I was giving myself, hearing that, it was like, oh, okay, I don't have to like everyone. Oh, that's kind of a relief, because I know I love them all, right? And so it seems like it'd be obvious, but if you're someone, I consider myself a humanitarian. I'm no one's savior. I have to be my own savior, right? We all are our own saviors. We are the ones we've been waiting for, but I know I'm here on the planet to help make a difference. It's like, if I'm not doing that, I like physically get sick, right? So I know I thrive when I'm supporting heaven on earth to become more and more manifest every day. So as someone who really just wants to do good, and I've been willing to sacrifice a lot for that, because it just felt like, to breathe, I just have to have a strong purpose. It's like, you know, so anyway, it was a relief for me to know I didn't have to like everyone, because ultimately I love them. And the other thing that he said that was really beautiful was about fear and negative thoughts. And he said, and I think a lot of us know how limiting fear can be, but he was bringing up how it can be hard to identify fears, because they can be so really, really deep, connected to something that happened in our childhood, like even as a baby or a toddler, way, way back, that we don't even remember. So how do we locate them? And one thing he said that helps is by identifying negative thoughts. So if we observe a negative thought in our mind, and then we use that to trace back to the point of finding what exactly are we afraid of, because at some point that fear, you know, was introduced into our life in something unnatural or however it happened. And so it's like sort of by unwinding that event, we can release the patterns that have resulted in been impacting our life. And as I've mentioned before, this is, you can see in our light body literally shoring up holes where we're leaking energy. And Dan calls it bleeding charge. So when we shore up our energy body, then pain is broken fractality, but pain in the body is connected to things that are in these other layers of our beingness. So we're working with the energy, this types of concepts. It's looking at the human body as more as energy, and the human beingness as energy, and energy fields and patterns of beautiful light and colored light and all that jazz. So yeah, identifying the negative thoughts when they enter, and pausing and using that thought to identify. It might be, what? It's like, oh, why is that person wearing that? I don't like that outfit. I like that person. Why would they wear that outfit? Why would they wear that material and that it doesn't look good on them, right? That's a negative thought. Okay. So what kind of fear would that have come from? Well, if I like that person and I want them to look good because I like them, and if there was a time where I felt that I didn't like my clothes, or I didn't feel good about how I looked, and that was something wrong, and that was something to be concerned of, it could be that because I like them and I'm dealing with that, it's sort of like identifying, okay, at some point I was concerned about what other people thought of my external appearance. That seems like a really deep-rooted fear. So then if I can feel free, no matter what I'm wearing, and know that, okay, it's silly or funny or awkward or weird material, like, who cares? So what? Right? It's sort of like, it's asking myself, oh, I don't like that outfit, well, why? And what's the problem? And where is there anything wrong here? It's just sometimes it's stuff that's so ridiculous. Or, a person's hairstyle. Like, I don't like their hair, why are they wearing it? It's like, because they like it. That's good enough reason. And then encouraging other people to express themselves however they want, and accepting it and loving it, then we feel we can do the same. Because if I were to have those thoughts, it would come from my own insecurities about my own appearance. If I'm concerned about the way I look and other people, and so sometimes in our families, our elders can really just want the best for us, but they may unintentionally be projecting their own insecurities onto their children or their grandchildren, or say, like, because they're trying to protect that person, but they don't realize it's based on a deep-seated fear that they have themselves. So that's how some of the generational trauma gets passed down, because people just don't know any better, and they're just doing what they've always known and what everyone around them is doing. But by opening our mind, and again, wanting to be authentic, like I was really stressing yesterday, of how when we're authentic from our own heart, just how free that is and how joyful that feels. We can wear whatever we want, we can have our hair however we want, and we care what we think about ourselves, and that's that's what matters. So I suppose that's everything for today. I am actually a little shocked that this video is already 45 minutes, but I've been doing a lot of meditating today. I've been letting go of attachments, of just old behavior that no longer serves me. So I just suppose, and perhaps with this beautiful tetrahedron, this might be an ongoing fixture. I'm really inspired by the Russian pyramid, which I just learned about from Bob Greenyer, which is 76.345 degrees. At the top, it's like a really tall, skinny pyramid, and people sit and meditate under them. It looks quite exciting, actually. Maybe that will be a build project, an upcoming tutorial video. I haven't done any drawing or building tutorials in a while, so it might be fun to work with my hands as a craftsperson, as I've been for pretty much my whole life. Artist and craftswoman. All right, everyone, so much love. Thank you again for joining me. I wanted to talk about the higher self, but perhaps that's going to be the next video because I want to avoid overloading you. I'm so grateful you joined me for this segment of the journey as we connect our minds, our consciousness through time and space, wherever you are, wherever you are. I'm wanting this to be the most blissful, joyful journey possible that I can create. I want to be a good tour guide for you all as a tour guide of consciousness. So have a beautiful day, evening, everything. Love you all so much.